our service engineers are factory trained and well experienced to assist the customers and their needs. So a brief introduction has been given by Mr. Raviteja about me. So I would like to skip this case. So this is a brief outline how I am proceeding this talk today. So I will just introduce AFM to all of our listeners, and then I will discuss about the fundamental modes of operation, and then I will discuss a brief about secondary modes, and majorly I am emphasizing on nanomechanical and electrical modes, and besides these two there are several other modes are also there. If an opportunity comes, we can discuss these things in the later stages also. And then I will emphasize some of the unique features of Bruker which can provide a better solution for the samples which are not able to measure by either the secondary modes or the fundamental modes of the operation. So Bruker come up with some unique solutions to deal with these problems. And then I will introduce our product range, different AFM models, and then the capability of AFM with integration of optical techniques such as Raman or IR to perform nano-Raman information and nano measurement. The section is the AFM has basically a 4 major components we call. One is the sample, and the second one is scanner, and third one is the cantilever with the tip, and the fourth one is the detection system. Sample is our interest, and the scanner, there are two types of scanning mechanisms are used in the AFM. One is called sample scanning, where the sample will be scanned and the tip or the cantilever is constant. And the second one is called tip scanning or the cantilever scanning, where we will scan the tip instead of scanning the sample. And the cantilever will be made with different materials and different force constants and quality factors for suitable applications. And we have to choose appropriate probe to perform a particular mode or a particular application. And the detection system consists of a laser and a position sensitive photodetector to observe the deflections happened in the cantilever. And initially in 1986, Pinning et al. Has invented a contact mode, which is the basic mode, and it has some problems for some samples. So people are looking for alternatives, and then Bruker, and it's also called Digital Instruments at that time. So in 1993, they have invented a tapping mode, and tapping mode also have some limitations, and then Bruker come up with a new mode called peak force tapping in 2009. Still, Bruker is developing a lot of techniques. This is not the end for the new inventions. They have a lot of techniques are developing recently, but we are talking about the modes. That's why I keep only these 3 modes. So the basic modes of AFM are contact mode and tapping mode. And this is an AFM image obtained on a HOPG sample. And you can see the beautiful high resolution of HOPG can obtained by AFM. So this gives a basic glimpse what AFM can do at nanoscale. So I'm going to the contact mode mechanism. In contact mode, our cantilever will be in touch continuously with the sample so that the topographical changes will reflect as the deflection of our cantilever. And these deflections will be maintained constant by a feedback loop, and that feedback will be converted as an image. So here we are scanning the sample in the contact. So the advantages are we can scan the sample very fast and we will get very high resolution. There are few problems as earlier I mentioned. The major problem is when we are moving the sample in horizontal direction in contact, we are actually applying a lateral force on top of the sample. These lateral forces can damage your samples if those samples are softer than our cantilever, or it can also do the vice versa impact if your sample is very hard and the cantilever is soft. Then cantilever will broke or wear can happen, and this will hamper the resolution of the image because the tip has to be sharp to get a good resolution AFM image. So in order to overcome these limitations, the tapping mode was invented. In tapping mode, the cantilever will oscillate at a at or near the resonant frequency of the cantilever, and it touches and goes out of the sample and try to measure. And here our set point, our measurable quantity, is making the amplitude constant by applying feedback loop. So we are modulating the amplitude, and based on that amplitude changes, we will convert it into an image. And this is the basic working of the contact mode AFM. Then the normal operation of any AFM is, we will introduce the sample in the AFM and approach the tip to the sample by using the software, and then we can take the images in both contact mode and as well as in tapping mode. And the other advantage of the AFM is, we can perform the experiments both in ambient conditions like air and as well as in liquid also. So this is the one of the versatile technique for AFM. We can do a liquid imaging also. The tip diameters are typically in the range of 10 nanometers, and each and every AFM image contains three-dimensional information about the sample. So as I said, there are besides fundamental modes or the primary modes, we have secondary modes also. Basic function of any microscope is to get a image of a topography, like scanning electron microscopes or transmission electron microscopes. They give only the image. But in the case of AFM, besides the imaging or the topography measurements, we can get several other physical properties such as mechanical, electrical, and chemical properties. And the chemical properties are based on the integration of Raman or IR with the AFM to get the chemical impact. In the case of mechanical properties, the AFM can perform force distance curves, force value measurements, elastic property measurement, lateral force microscopy, and force modulation measurements. And in the case of electrical modes, we can do a scanning tunneling microscopy, electrical force microscopy, or the magnetic force microscopy, and we can do the conductive AFM measurements, and we can measure the surface potential using a Kelvin probe force microscopy, and we can also do a scanning capacitance microscopy, scanning spreading resistance microscopy, and also the piezo response force microscopy. Besides these electrical modes, we can also do some of the other properties like thermal property measurements using scanning thermal microscopy, and electrochemical activities by using a scanning electrochemical microscopy, and microwave impedance measurements using a scanning microwave impedance microscopy. And we can also measure the photocurrent measurements at nanoscales using the AFM. So this is the one and only versatile technique to encounter all the measurements or all types of experiments you can perform with one such a tool. That's why it is a very versatile instrument to have by the researchers. So now I will discuss a little bit about the mechanical properties. The mechanical properties are basically, we can measure the elastic properties such as modulus or stiffness, adhesion, and distortion or dissipation. All these things can be measured using the AFM. And AFM can also measure soft samples to very hard samples like ceramics. You can measure the mechanical properties by choosing appropriate probes. These mechanical modes can also be operated in either ambient, fluid, gas, and also we can vary the temperature and we can look at the mechanical properties change. And we can get a highest resolution because of the atomic force microscopy ability, and these nanomechanical properties are matching with the bulk mechanical properties of the samples. So I will briefly explain about the force distance curve. Here we are plotting the force experienced by the cantilever when the cantilever is approaching the sample. So when we follow the blue curve, at initial stages, the cantilever won't experience any force. When we slowly lower down or we are approaching the sample, it experiences a small forces and then it touches the sample. And then still we are applying a force to look at the maximum deflection of the cantilever. Then we will reach a highest force up to which the sample can withhold. And then we try to retract the cantilever by slowly removing the forces acting on the cantilever. Then we will get a lowest point where excuse me, one second. This is the lowest point up to which we can withdraw. Then there will be some sticking between the sample and the cantilever. So we need to apply more force to free this one. Then we apply a little more force to free the cantilever from the sample. Then the forces acting on the cantilever is again zero. So this is what is called a force distance curve. With this force distance curve, we can measure a lot of the properties. As here you can see the horizontal line and the deepest point of the force. This particular force gives us the information about adhesion property of the sample. And then if we try to fit the retracting curve, the red curve, retracting curve up to here by using a lot of models, but most commonly we use a DMT model to evaluate the stiffness or the Young's modulus of the material. And then we can also calculate the area under this red blue zone, and this gives us the information about the dissipation of the samples. So once we measure all these things, the AFM can give you as the images. So this is one such kind of image where polypropylene and modified rubber with carbon black particles are mixed. The first image shows us about the height variations, and the second image gives us the information about the different moduli present in the sample. And then the third image gives us the adhesion information of the sample at each pixel. So then I move to the electrical properties. So it is widely used STM for electrical measurements earlier days. So the STM uses a metal tip and a conductive sample, and both the tip and the sample are under bias. And there will be a small gap so that electrons can be tunneled between the tip and the sample, and these tunneling current will be measured and imaged respectively, get a beautiful high resolution images of the sample. So the problem with STM is if the sample is conductive, then only we will get the images, or semiconductor. But if the conductivity is somewhat lower than semiconductors, then we cannot image them using a STM technology. So here we have a solution with AFM, which is called conductive AFM, where instead of keeping that gap, we touch the sample with our cantilever and try to measure the currents in the range of microamperes, again using a bias between the tip and the sample. And with this method, you can measure a very low currents like microamperes. And with QNA technique, which has a high gain lock-in amplifier, you can move this range to the nanoampere current. So this will be very useful if you are looking at the electrical properties or conductance of your sample, how the conductance of your sample is varying over the topography. You can measure the topography and simultaneously you can measure the conductive information also. The image in the slide gives the conductive AFM's capacity. So here the labeled 1 and 2, these two pads are only grounded. That's why you can only see those two pads giving the conductive AFM signals, and you can only see those two pads. Then goes to the Kelvin probe force microscopy. Here we also use a conducting tip, and then we try to measure the voltage, and that voltage would be converted into the potential, and that surface potential we are measuring. And with this KPFM combined with conductive AFM is widely used nanoelectrical characterization technique to get the electrical properties of the materials. And KPFM is used in two-dimensional layers to understand the work function of the 2D materials over the spreading. And this is a conductive, KPFM image of a graphene oxide layer which is irradiated under UV light. And you can see the topography change on the figure A, and the corresponding surface potential measurements in the figure B. And the figure C is a line profile. You can obtain a line profile on the image and look how the height or the surface potential is varying at each pixel of these lines. And we can also draw an histogram about this surface potential, how it is varying over the entire scan region. So this gives us the information about the surface potential overview. So then we have a piezo response force microscopy. There are few materials, when we apply an electric field, they will either contract or expand. Based on this, we call this particular property as piezo response. Or when we apply a mechanical force, they produce electrical field. So this is what is called a piezo function of the materials. And these piezo materials are mostly ferroelectric materials or piezoelectric materials. So we can measure this piezoelectric activity of the materials by applying a voltage and try to observe the contraction or the expansion of the materials. And this image of a bismuth ferrite sample gives us the information about the piezo response in terms of amplitude and in terms of the phase also. Here the phase image will be constructed by looking at the cantilever phase and the piezo response phase. The difference will be imaged as a phase image to understand the response timings of the piezo material. Then I move to the unique features of Bruker. The first unique feature of the Bruker is called peak force tapping. In contact AFM, we are measuring the deflection. In tapping mode AFM, we are measuring the amplitude modulation. But in peak force tapping, we try to measure the force at each cycle. And this force we can measure and quantify. So if you want to do a quantification results, peak force tapping is the best solution to perform. And with this one, we can control the forces acting on top of the sample. And we can control up to 10 piconewtons. Whereas in tapping mode, these forces are much higher, like in the orders of nanonewtons. So in the image, you can see a suspended graphene membrane, and the image was divided into two halves. The gray region of the image was tried to map with a tapping mode, and we were unable to get the suspended graphene image. Whereas the blue region shows about the peak force tapping mapped image. So you can clearly map the suspended graphene, and suspended graphene is very fragile. So with peak force tapping, we can able to measure or image a very fragile samples. And if you can combine peak force tapping with atomization, then it is called scan assist. I will discuss about scan assist after 2 slides, and I would like to explain a little brief about peak force tapping. In peak force tapping also, we try to do a force distance curve, and we will measure the peak force at each cycle, and the cantilever oscillates at lower frequencies compared to the tapping mode. The general oscillating frequencies are in the order of 2 kilohertz. So we can measure at each cycle what is the peak force, and based on this we can set the set point as the force, and we can measure the complete image using a peak force tapping method. And it was developed in 2009, and recently we have celebrated 10 years of peak force tapping. After the peak force tapping, it make a revolution in the AFM measurements, and the adoption rates of peak force tapping, as you can see, every day more than one article is publishing with peak force tapping technology, and you can see a lot of testimonials. I have kept a couple of testimonials from the users how they were benefited from the peak force tapping. Then I am moving to the scan assist. In scan assist, what we will do is we will use the peak force tapping plus atomization. Here the atomization will take care of the adjusting the set point and gain. What user has to do is he has to select a region of interest and the scan size. Then scan assist will automatically adjust the set point and gain to get the most optimized image and best resolution image. So It will give a better experience to the novice users of AFM to get high possible resolution images from the AFM. And it also improves the tip lifetime so that we can use the same tip for longer time. And this scan assist mode is suitable for all types of samples, starting from the fragile samples to the very hard ceramic samples also. You can use the scan assist. And scan assist will work both in air and as well as in liquid also. This is the best feature of scan assist. So here this is an image of polymer brush where you can see a finite features are resolved by scan assist, which were not possible either by doing a light tapping mode or a hard tapping mode. The light tapping mode means the force on the tapping will be smaller, or the amplitude of oscillation will be smaller, and hard tapping means the amplitude will be higher. But you can get a beautiful image with using the scan assist. So this is the benefit of scan assist for some samples like polymers. So then I'm moving to the quantitative nanomechanical properties using peak force, which is called peak force QNM. Here with the peak force QNM, we can simultaneously obtain quantitative mechanical information as well as electrical information also. So we are actually direct control of force. That's why we can quantify the measurements with a very faster acquisition rates. In traditional cases, we have to do the force distance curve and it will take some time at each pixel. So the capture of total image takes a longer time. But with peak force QNM, we can considerably reduce the time taken to obtain a mechanical image. And the material properties can be characterized over a very wide range of samples due to the peak force. We can characterize the fragile samples, we can characterize the soft samples, and we can characterize also hard samples. This will enable us to use over a wide range of the samples. So this is one of the peak force QNM image where again the polymer brush-like sample. Here you can map the moduli in the second image B, and image C gives us the addition information of the sample. Pardon me. And image D gives us the histogram of the moduli image B, overall image histogram of the moduli variation in the image B. And image E gives us the histogram of the red box drawn. Here you can clearly resolve the features which are very near, like 24.7 megapascal and 32.4 megapascal also you can resolve with peak force QNM. So this makes users to resolve a smaller moduli differences also inside their samples and get more information from the sample. Then goes to the peak force KPFM. The peak force KPFM uses two different techniques. One is called amplitude modulation and another one is called frequency modulation. And this peak force KPFM attains a better resolution by combining with peak force technique and KPFM. And it has a highest repeatability by controlling the parameters tightly. And due to the peak force, we can also simultaneously measure the mechanical properties along with the KPFM measurements. So it will promise us further enhancement in the frequency modulation KPFM sensitivities also. So this is the one of the image of peak force KPFM where we have a polystyrene and low density polyethylene sample is blended, and then you can clearly see the potential image or pardon me, and the modulus image and the deformation of the samples and also the addition information. So with combining the peak force with any technique, you can simultaneously obtain a different parameters. Then we will go to the peak force tuner where our sensitivity regime goes down further to femtoamps. Earlier with tuner we can go up to nanoamps. Then here we can go down to the sensitivities of femtoamps or measurabilities of picoamps. In peak force tuner extends the nanoelectrical characterizations And it also enables us to measure the highest resolution current mappings for the most fragile samples. Because in normal conductive AFM, we are in the contact mode, but here we are in the tapping mode. So the lateral forces will be eliminated in the PF tuna. So this will minimizes the damage of the sample and enable us to do even for the fragile or soft samples, we can do conductive AFM, which will enable us to look at the organic photovoltaics and lithium cathode materials and nanotubes. Nanotubes are very fragile. If you try to apply some force, they will break. So with PF tuna, we can measure the electrical properties and simultaneously mechanical properties of nanotubes and fragile samples also. So this is one of the PF tuna image of a carbon nanotube embedded inside P3HT material. So the the topography image is not clearly giving the information about the carbon nanotube position. The conductive AFM image are also not able to resolve the nanotube position. But the addition image, image C, gives us the information about the position of the nanotubes. So this is what the benefit of using peak force with different measurement techniques, such that we will be enabled to locate in either of the modes or in either of the measurements, either in addition or in conductance or in topography. Either of the mode enable us to give us the exact location of the nanomaterials. Pardon me. So data cube is the recent advancement of the Bruker, which will do the nano electrical spectra at each pixel. Earlier, we are applying one bias and collecting the current. But in data cube, what we will do is we will stay at the pixel and we try to sweep a voltage and obtain the electrical spectra at each pixel. So we are getting more information with a single measurement. So this will enable us to do some inaccessible materials also and devices also. And then we can correlate the electrical and mechanical data, and electrical and mechanical spectra are available at each pixel. And this eliminates the contact mode limitation. Once we eliminate the contact mode limitation, we will get the benefit of longer lifetime of the tip, and we can enable to do the soft and fragile materials also, and our spatial resolutions will be improved. And this is an alternative to peak force electrical modes. And data cube allows users to invent their own mode. So this is one of the image obtained a data cube tuna mode on Megamite. So here the first image gives us the topography information, and second image gives us the addition. But the third image, it's not an image, it's a movie. I hope the movie is going on, right? So you can see the change of the conductance of the sample at different voltages. So this is what the advantage of having data cube with your AFM. So you will get a lot of electrical spectra at each point, or the mechanical spectra. So you can use those spectra to analyze in more detail about your sample. So I hope everybody can see my movie. So then the nanoelectrical lab technique has a different combinations of measuring the conductivity, impedance, carrier density, piezoelectricity, and local electrochemical activity, and potential measurements of the sample with different kinds of techniques like fast force volume technique, peak force tapping technique, tapping mode, and contact mode, like basic modes, peak force tapping, and fast force volume. Here you can see the fast force volume is more versatile and compatible with almost all the measurement techniques. So if you have a fast force volume technique with you, you can do of combinations to measure the different properties of your samples. So this is what the special feature of fast force volume, having a fast force volume in our AFM machines. Then I'm showing about the nanoelectrical lab applications in wide variety of fields to measure the conductivity, impedance, carrier density, piezoelectric materials. People are widely used in different fields like semiconductors, ferroelectrics, 2D materials, batteries, corrosion studies, dielectrics. A lot of fields are covered with these nanoelectrical lab applications. So then I am moving to our product line, where we have a different AFMs for different applications and different users. So these are all the different available AFMs. The right of the screen or left of you, there are 4 categories which are produced by Bruker, and the right of you and left of the screen, there are 3 more AFMs which are produced by JPK. And these 3 AFMs have a advantage that in future you can upgrade them with an IOM, or you can integrate them with an IOM facility, inverted optical microscope facility, to do some optical measurements also. So in the right of the screen or left of you, there are 4 AFMs. The first one is the Innova AFM. It is an academical and research grade AFM which can handle 45 dia samples, and all secondary modes are available in this system. And then we have a multi-mode, is a small sample research grade AFM which can handle a 15 dia samples, and it is a successful model of the Bruker for past 3 decades. If you want a big sample AFM, then the Dimension series will take the place. And in the Dimension Edge, we have a 6-inch sample stage, and the XY translation is also able to move the complete 6 inches of the sample. And the Dimension Icon is the flagship model of Bruker, which can take 18 samples, and this has a very low drift, very low thermal drift in the lab conditions also. No need to use any external temperature controls or any other things to minimize the drift. And then comes to the JPK product line. We have a NanoWizard SensePlus and NanoWizard 4XP. They are also available for materials, and we can integrate them with IOM in future. And the ultra speed is the fastest AFM, which can give a 10 frames per second dynamic rate for studying some in situ measurements. Then I am moving to the optical integration of AFMs with Raman and as well as nano IR measurements. So we have a Innova and Icon, which can be integrated with Raman spectroscopy, and we can integrate with them either with a Renisha Raman spectrometers or Horiba Raman spectrometers. And with Innova, we can do AFM TERS, tip enhanced Raman spectroscopy, or STM TERS. And with Icon, we can do a co-localized Raman. And then we have a nano IR, where we can instant a IR and try to look at the photothermal properties or FTIR shifts. And these IR data are the Raman data of these AFM Raman data is matching with the bulk Raman data or the bulk IR data of the sample. So we have a good agreement with bulk spectra. So this is one of the image of a 2D graphene grown by CVD. And you can see a label which is where we have measured the TERS of the 2D band intensity with respect to the G band intensity, and the intensity ratio of Ig to I2D is shown in the color band here. It varies from 0.5 to 0.9. So this is what you can obtain using AFM TERS imaging. And in order to summarize my talk, AFM can be used to measure the physical properties besides topography, and we can measure the different physical properties at nanoscale with high resolutions. And Scan Assistant Peak Force will enable users' experience to take to the another level, and novice users can also get a beautiful images from the AFM. And AFM can be integrated with optical techniques such as Raman and as well as nano IR techniques. Yeah, the session is open for questions.
Thank you, Dr. Raghav. I hope everyone had an informative session. We have got a couple of questions, Dr. Raghav.
Yes, sir, please.
One question was, in contact mode, what should be the roughness of the film?
The roughness, maybe it should be order of the nanometers, because we are using a very sharp tip. If the sample is too rough, then there might be a chance that you are damaging the morphology of the sample, or if the sample is too hard, then you are damaging the tip. The tip diameters are typically in the range of nanometers, so we can manage with a nanometer roughness.
Great. The next question is, can you please show some image analysis of DNA using AFM?
I have shown one image, and maybe we can separately talk to you and send the different images and different methods of DataCube, because DataCube is available with different techniques, like you can perform DCube Tuna, DCube SSRM, DCube KPFM, a lot of variety of applications. So maybe you can contact through mail, or we will contact you through mail, and we will understand what is your applications exactly, and then based on your applications we might provide you the relative images. I hope that would be okay with you.
Okay. The next question is, which method, KPFM or CAFM, etc., would be better if need to plot between electrical bias applied on the tip in non-contact mode and electrostatic force felt by the cantilever while measuring stacked layer samples?
It looks like a tricky question. I think we can get back to you by discussing with our Bruker exact application scientist, because he would be more appropriate to answer this question than me.
Okay. How the electrical polling is made, typically while looking for resistive switching properties? Probably you should get back again on this question too.
Yes.
Can we use the powder sample in AFM?
Yes, we can use, but you need to make it stick to the substrate whatever you are using. Either you can stick it on the silicon or on the mica, and it shouldn't move when we are doing the measurements. Maybe you can make as a pellet and do the AFM measurements.
Okay, great. Due to this time restriction, we will go through all the questions again, and we will answer them one by one. So I would like to thank each one of you who got registered and taken out time to attend this webinar today. So once you leave this webinar space, you would be automatically enrolled through the survey poll about this webinar. So please take your time to fill it, and which is very crucial for our internal assessment purpose. Please stay tuned to our LinkedIn channels or Bruker website and company website to get more updates and for future online webinars. Thank you, everyone, and thank you, Dr. Raghav.
Thank you.
Let's call for end of the session.